Good morning. Get yourself a cup of coffee. Today's video is about, so you want to own a rustic log cabin. Well, if I look cold, it's because I am cold. This water, now it's starting to thaw out a little bit. But when I got up this morning, that was my glass of water sitting on the table from last night. And it is stone frozen. It was frozen solid when I first got up. I got a thermometer on the wall over there. When I first got up, it was 20 degrees. But in my bed, I'm snug as a bug in a rug, so I don't look to crawl out of bed anytime too fast in the morning. The temperature now is we're just creeping up on 50 degrees up there, but it's not 50 degrees down here. So, you know, you hear me talk about in my comments a lot. I say I have coffee in the cabin in the morning and read my comments. That's what I do. And the other thing in there that's important to catch is I always talk about I'm hugging the wood stove. Well, that's the truth. I literally am hugging the wood stove in the first thing in the morning while this cabin warms up. It doesn't take long, especially if I got some hardwood. Beagle coming up to say good morning. She's saying, "Good morning, Pa, good morning." She just rolled out of bed. She just rolled out of bed. She's saying, "Where's my cookie? Are we gonna do something, Pa?" But anyways, in the comments, when you hear me say, hugging the wood stove, I'm hugging the wood stove. I have an easy chair, and what I do in the morning is I push it up close to the wood stove while it's warming. It doesn't take long. It's one of those old cast iron schoolhouse stoves. So it doesn't take long to get the place warm, but it does take, you know, a day like today, it's 5 below zero out there today. So, you know, of course it's going to take a little bit of time this morning. But usually I put coffee on and perk it, and usually by the time the coffee is perking, the wood stove is pumping out enough heat that at least the front side of me is comfortable and warm. And like a hot dog on the campfire, you gotta flip it over once in a while. So then you'll stand up and turn around and warm up your backside while the rest of the cabin is getting warm. But like I said, we're up to 50, you know, up here. You know, the temperature, the thermometer is 2 feet above my head. So it'll take a little bit of time for it to get really comfy, but not long. I don't fix the fire and I go to bed at night because I sleep all night. And I have enough blankets on the bed that I'm super comfortable anyways. You know, I can tell from one night to the next, you know, what the temperature in the cabin is when I'm under there. Some nights I'm a little extra warm. And last night I was just comfortable, so that's good. And if it gets colder, I have even more blankets that I can throw on the bed. So that's not an issue at all. You know, it's not an airtight stove, so the fire goes out. And I really don't want an airtight stove in this cabin because it's so small. Number one, you'd have to run it closed up a lot, so that would create more creosote in the chimney, all that stuff. And the other thing, these old cast iron wood stoves, they don't create any creosote at all because they burn hot enough all the time that I've been here over 10 years and I've never cleaned that chimney once. I look up it once in a while. I changed the stovepipe last fall. You guys watched that video. So I changed the stovepipe and I always look up a chimney and see what's going on, and it's always crystal clear. So I don't worry about it. I have looked up it every so many years. I'll take a peek. If I'm up on the roof, I'll take a screwdriver with me and pull off the top and look down it. But nothing ever builds up on that chimney. And it's because it's not an airtight stove. airtight stoves, they are designed to create creosote. And I burn crappy wood, so that, you know, if I was going to have a creosote problem, it would be the wood that I'm burning, that's for sure. You know, I burn spruce, pine, dead stuff. I burn a lot of dead, rotten stuff. Most of it doesn't have a whole lot of BTUs in it because it's pretty much rotted away, but if it's bone dry, it'll burn. And I don't need that much heat in here, so I grab them trees and toss them in the woodshed. Because number one, it gets them cleaned up, and number two, I get them burned up, and it's more free heat. You know, a tree like that's gonna rot into the ground and be no good. But once it has a chance to set, especially if it's got any moisture in it, it'll dry out and burn like a torch. So I don't. If I burn hardwood in here. If I was to, you know, I do bring up an arm load or two of hardwood every once in a while, mainly for mornings like this. I'll put my spruce in, and then I'll put a stick of hardwood on top. Because one thing spruce doesn't do is leave any coals behind. You know, when the fire starts to burn down, usually you got a bed of coals in there. You can rake forward and put your new stick of wood on there. But with spruce, you have very few coals. When it burns out, it's nothing but ash. But in the morning time, I can get more BTUs out of a stick of hardwood. So, like this morning, I had a piece of birch out there. It's actually the last piece of hardwood I got here. So, this morning, it was cold enough in here that I put in my spruce. And then on top of that, I put in a stick of that birch. Just to get a little bit more BTUs out of it. Heat the place up, you know. Heat the place up. But I figured it was good morning to turn the camera on, have coffee with you guys. You can see if I lean over here, the sun's coming. It's beautiful out there. We got about 2 inches of fresh snow 2 days ago, so everything's covered in a nice white coating of white snow. I haven't seen any deer. I like to look out the window in the morning time. I haven't seen any deer this morning, but I did the 2 mornings ago. I had a nice buck halfway down the driveway. So, but winter is here. We finally got winter. Out on the lake, we have at least, when I first got here, there was 5 inches of ice. So it wasn't, well, we've had 2 days of good cold now, so maybe there's 6 inches of ice down there now. So it's getting better. I've been gathering up parts and pieces for the new fish house. I'm building, if you guys haven't caught the video, I'm building a new fish house again this year. I told you last year, it seemed like always in December and January, I'm building a fish house. Well, this is no different. It's been a while since I built one last year, but before that probably was at least, I don't know. Well, I built one 10 years ago, so it was 10 years in between building a fish house. But the boys are getting bigger, and they are taking an interest in fishing and hunting and all of that, the grandsons. And my daughter also, this year for Christmas, she said I would like some ice fishing equipment for Christmas. So I said we can make that happen. So I've been collecting ice fishing stuff for a billion years. So I bought her some tackle, stuff like that, some jigging stuff, and I've got a set of traps that was donated to East Grand Woodsman channel and was told to put them to good use. So I'm Bill from Florida. He used to live in Maine. So I told her you can borrow them. I don't want to give them to you because these are pretty special to me. So I'm gonna let her borrow those for now, because there's a plan. I have built ice fishing traps for 30 years, so I didn't have time. She only asked for the ice fishing stuff a month or so before Christmas. So I had so much going on in hunting season and everything else that I couldn't build her a set of ice traps. So maybe this winter I'll get a chance to. I got to get a couple more projects to get out of the way, but and plus the grandsons. So I'm probably gonna build up 4 or 5 sets of ice traps because I think it'd be pretty nice for each one of the grandsons to have a set of traps. as well as my daughter. So we'll see we'll see. You know, I build them 4 sets at a time. That's 20 traps. So I build 4 sets at a time. So that doesn't cover them all. So I'm probably gonna have to do 2 batches. But anyways, meantime, I'm gonna let her borrow Bill's set of traps. They are nice oak trap that he built. Really durable, really rugged. So we'll let them boys cut their teeth on your traps, Bill. I've been taking them out, but they were younger, so we can only go out for a couple of hours at a time. So getting back to the fish house. The new fish house is big enough. It's a family-size fish house. All the fish houses up here are 2-man fish houses, and they're made for speed, and they're made for traveling up and down the lake. But the family-size fish house is going to be 4 feet by 8 feet. So, and it will seat 6 people, and I'm going to have a kerosene heater in the center of it with 2 ice holes. Windows all the way around. That's what I'm picking up this trip up here. I had a bunch of plexiglass up here. Pieces. I picked up a pile of plexiglass from the dump several years ago. I was there and it was all bundled up, so I scooped that up and threw it in the pickup. And I've been making ice fishing windows out of it now for quite a few years. So now I can go home and we'll get the windows made for the new fish house. I'm going to put 2 holes in the floor with covers, so that on the cold days we can still go fishing and fish right inside the fish house. Because I really want to teach the boys how to jig fish using a jig stick. For one, you catch more fish with a jig stick, and number 2, bait is expensive. So teaching them both will be the way to go anyways. Bait used to be fairly inexpensive. It's not anymore. And there used to be more bait stores around where you could get live bait. So that's even getting a little bit more tougher. So, but part of my endeavors of trapping this winter, I plan on putting out some bait traps. And especially over at Beaver Creek Deer Camp with the stream there, I'm interested to find out if there's any bait in there. So we'll drop in a couple of traps, and I have a whole bunch of basket traps, and then I have a big trap that I built that's 2 feet by 2 feet by 4 feet. So I'll drop that out there and see what comes up, as well as and I got another swamp that I'll be putting some beaver traps out in. So I'm probably going to bring some traps up in there as well. Check the beaver traps, check the bait traps, all the same trip. Make a whole day of it. Maybe come home with a beaver, and maybe come home with ice fishing bait. Either way, it'll be a great day out in the woods. So that's the way. I hope you guys enjoying coffee with me. We're up to 60 degrees. I gotta stay over here. Sun gets in my eyes. I had a great trip up here. I'm going to turn the camera just a little bit so I can back up. I got the snowmobile started. I got this 4-wheeler taken care of for the winter. And I got the tractor started, and I also started the generator and let that run for a month. I mean, run for an hour or two. You know, if you own a cabin and you have all that stuff, you should let it run every once in a while. Usually I let stuff run every month, but where I've been building the Beaver Creek Deer Camp, I've not had the time to do my regular maintenance like that stuff. So, but anyways, the generator started a little dry. I had a chainsaw up here, started a little dry. I brought it in here and warmed it up next to the wood stove, and then I got that to run for a few minutes, so that's good. So all the small engines are up here running and ready to go. So I'll be back. I'm probably going to come back in about a week and start ice fishing. I'm gonna go home and work on the family-size fish house, and should be able to build it in a week. So I'm hoping I can get out there, pound it together, and then have that ready to go for the boys. So I'll see you next week, and I hope you have a great week. And I'm gonna have some more coffee and hug that campfire just a little bit more.